Hey guys, it's Lola with Grateful Gratitude. And as you probably know, I am a certified gratitude coach, always looking for ways to be grateful to make our lives better. And I'm the founder of Grateful Gratitude Hearts Foundation that anchors people to God's love by practicing gratitude. And today I'm so excited because I've reconnected with a friend from high school, Jim Whitfield. He's actually in a snowy, icy Illinois, and I'm in a sunny Dallas, but he's not going to hold that against me today. Jim, will you just introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about what you do at the Red Cross?
Well, Lori, first of all, thanks for having me on your podcast here, or your meeting that you're broadcasting out to the folks who'll be watching this. I've been with the American Red Cross now, just started my 4th year, and my job is Donor Recruitment Development Officer. So what I do is I cover 10 counties in Illinois, Missouri, and Iowa. It's kind of the tri-state area. And my job is to work with businesses and agencies and organizations looking for folks to host and basically have blood drives at their location. And it's an opportunity for many people to give back to the community. And there's a lot of opportunities for people to host. Not a lot of people have information. I didn't know a lot about Red Cross and blood drives and the need until I actually got involved with the organization. So hopefully during this time that you and I spend, we'll get some information out to those folks and hopefully get people to drives there in your area.
Awesome. Well, I think you kind of know the story, Jim, but it's been almost 3 years now that I had my blood transfusion. And I'm AB positive. I don't know that that's a rare type.
It is.
But I know down here it's kind of a little bit rare. They're always asking for that type of blood. Mm-hmm. But I ended up in the emergency room one day, sitting on a gurney, getting blood. And I was very much grateful that someone had spent the time to give that blood. And it really made me start thinking more about the unselfishness that when someone gives blood, that it's very similar to my gratitude hearts. You know, if you know about my gratitude hearts, we give these away to victims of violent crime or confused kids or lonely elderly people. I never know where it's going to end up, but I know it's going to do good. And that's the same with the blood that's donated. And, I was blown away because when I went in, I think my hemoglobin, I hope I'm saying this right, was 7.3. And I think that normal is around 11, but for many years, I tried to go donate blood, and all they would say is, you're too anemic, you can't give. And I never really followed through until I had to have a blood transfusion as to, why didn't I check into that sooner? Why did I wait till it was a crisis situation? And so I think there's a lot of people that are like me, and they're grateful the blood is there, but they don't realize what you go through to get those people to give that blood. So would you talk just a little bit about some statistics? How much blood is needed a year? How, some of that things?
Lori, the American Red Cross, we have blood drives across the United States. I mean, from California to New York, and from, down in the southeastern part of the United States all the way out to Seattle, Washington. We have to collect about 13,000 pints of blood every single day to supply the 2,600 medical facilities that the American Red Cross partners with across the U.S. And when I say 13,000 pints a day, please understand that's not a week, that's not 13,000 a month, that's 13,000 every single day. So there is a need that needs to be filled when we're partnering with those hospitals. If you take a group of 100 people, about 65 of those people are never able to donate blood. And that might be because they have a medical condition that they're not allowed to donate. I have a gentleman that lives across the street from me here in Quincy, and he served in the United States Army in Great Britain back in the mid-1980s. Well, that was during the mad cow disease scare. And so he is permanently deferred. He is never allowed to donate blood at a Red Cross blood drive. It's about blood safety. It's about the safety of the donations. It's all about safety, and we'll get into that maybe a little bit later. And so when you take a group of 100 and you take away 65 of those people almost automatically, that only leaves 35 people. That out of a group of 100, that's able to donate. Well, on the day of a drive, it may be looking really good, but if you're on an antibiotic, you can't donate. If you're like you talked about the hemoglobin level, some people may be familiar with the iron level, if that so may be. Well, if your iron level's low, let's say your pulse rate's above 100, let's say your temperature's a little bit elevated, all those factors contribute into not being able to donate on that given day. And so all of a sudden those 35 people goes down to maybe 20. So of a group of 100, you're down to about maybe 20% of 100 that really can go and donate. And what they say and what they've told me, and this is the first day that I was involved with Red Cross, only 3% of the population actually will take the time out of the day to go to an American Red Cross blood drive and donate. So the need is there, and we always encourage people to try and make it to a drive. And we really are in need because blood's used for a variety of reasons. The first thing that people maybe think about are trauma patients who are coming through the local hospital emergency room doors. But blood's also needed to treat people who are maybe undergoing cancer treatments, chemotherapy, to help rebuild their immune systems. We also have maybe organ transplant patients. And for anybody who knows someone who has gone through an organ transplant, when you get that call, you got to go. It's not like, well, I got the call, I'm kind of busy this week. Can we do it next week? I'm available then. No, you got to go right now. There's also sickle cell anemia patients that need blood. There's also, women who suffer complications from childbirth. I know of a story here in Quincy, probably within the last 6 months, a woman suffered complications from childbirth, and she took every available unit of blood at the hospital to help her survive. I have a son, my wife and I, we have a son who's a junior in high school this year. And a couple of years ago, a classmate of his, he was on the list for a heart transplant. And he got the call finally. He was born with a birth defect. And finally he got the call that he was on the list, eligible, went to a hospital in St. Louis, Missouri. And now today he's up and moving around and just as normal as ever. But what happens if that young man gets to the hospital and, sorry, we don't have enough blood on the shelves to conduct your organ transplant to save your life? So there's always a need, and we always ask people to try and make it to a drive if they feel like they can.
So that just blows me away, just the number every day that you need. I had no idea that number was so huge. That's staggering. And I'm assuming that that's on what would be a normal day, not when we have extra needs. And I guess, how has COVID restrictions, I'm sure you're deemed essential, of course, but how has that I know here in Dallas, I counsel a lot of people that have so much fear during COVID. They're so fearful to go out, to do anything that they normally did. How's that affected your donations?
Well, first of all, we are under a whole new set of guidelines and protocols that we must follow at every blood drive that is sponsored by the American Red Cross. So a Red Cross blood drive in the Dallas area, or a blood drive here in the Quincy, Illinois area, or in Chicago, Illinois, it doesn't matter what Red Cross blood drive that you might be at, we're all following the same rules. We're all based on the 6-foot social distancing rule. Everyone who walks, well, I'm just going to walk you through it real quick as to what we do now. Every person that walks in the door in an American Red Cross blood drive has to have their temperature taken. And if you meet that number, then you're allowed to enter the blood drive. If you're at the other number that is unacceptable, we're going to ask you to turn around, go back to your car, and carry on with your day's business. So first of all, temperatures are taken for every single person, no matter if it's a staff person, a volunteer who might be working at a drive, or even actual donors who are coming in to donate. I jokingly say that we pass out hand sanitizer at blood drives like you're passing out candy at Halloween. I mean, everybody It's hand sanitizer all the way. Every staff person is wearing latex gloves, and those are changed after every donor. Everyone who walks in the door has to have a face covering on. It's required. If you don't have a face covering, one will be provided to you. The chairs that where donors are waiting are all spaced 6 feet apart. The tables where you go through your health histories are all spaced 6 feet apart. The beds are spaced 6 feet apart. You know, the old days that people are familiar with, where you might be driving down the street and see a sign that says blood drive today. Oh, you know what? I've got some time. I've donated in the past. I'll go ahead and donate. And you pull in the lot and they try to work you in because you don't have an appointment. Or those days are over. We're encouraging, and in fact, it is mandatory that everyone has a scheduled time, a scheduled appointment to come to an American Red Cross blood drive. In fact, we need to control the number of people that we have at a blood drive at any given time, and that's where it kind of falls back to the scheduling and the appointment making. And people can make an appointment at an American Red Cross blood drive in a variety of ways. We try to make it as easy as possible for people to schedule an appointment. You know, you can call 1-800-RED-CROSS. You can get online at redcrossblood.org, type in your zip code, and it'll tell you what drives are nearby where you're at. And it'll also provide you an opportunity to schedule an appointment that way and to let you know if there's any open appointment slots. Or some people even, you know, have their phone and there's the Red Cross app that you can download to your phone, and it's as convenient as scheduling an app that way. One thing that we also have been doing, that the American Red Cross has been doing, and this started, you know, when the pandemic really took, you know, really gained steam and really overwhelmed the United States, was back in March, I believe, maybe April. Every blood donation at an American Red Cross blood drive is tested for the coronavirus antibody. Wow. Now we have to understand that doesn't mean that it's full-on COVID. It just means if you have, you know, you're tested for the coronavirus antibody, and if you have a positive test, maybe you have been exposed to it, and maybe your body, and if you don't feel any symptoms, maybe your body has developed some, you know, the immune system has really fought it off. But if you come back with a positive test through the coronavirus antibody testing, that's a good time to have a conversation with your primary care physician. So we've seen a lot of people who have decided that first-time donors, you know, have heard that they are the blood is being tested, and so they've come and said, you know, it's not as bad as we thought. So we're going to go ahead and continue to donate.
Well, let me ask you this, because here in Allen, which is North Dallas, our numbers were climbing. They were doubling the last probably 5 weeks, and I'm sure it's because of Thanksgiving and, you know, social gatherings. So if someone comes in that has had corona, I mean, there's tons of my friends, even some of my family members that have had corona. Are they out of the picture to give, or can they still give at a certain point?
Oh, no, they can still give at a certain point. Now, they have to be symptom-free. There is a time frame from when they've overcome their symptoms and maybe they've tested negative for active, you know, COVID-19. But we do see people who have contacted me and said, hey, you know what, I battled COVID. I'm over it now. You know, I'm not on the downhill side of things. I'm really kind of back in the saddle and I'm doing okay. And, you know, we encourage those folks to make a call at the 1-800-RED-CROSS and have a conversation with the customer care agent. You'll go through a couple of voice prompts to get to the biomed or the blood services side of things. And those people will be able to answer every single question that you may have about potentially donating at a Red Cross blood drive. One thing I will tell you as well, the plasma donations, the convalescent plasma donations. We've had several people here in the Quincy area where I'm at who are now donating plasma because they've you know, gotten through the illness associated with COVID-19. And so they take the plasma, and then that plasma is being sent to local hospitals and helping current patients who are hospitalized battling COVID-19.
So that brings up a good question is, so I go in and donate blood, two-part. What happens to all that? Is all that blood used in different ways, or is part of it discarded and part used? And then how quickly can someone receive my blood after I've donated?
Well, earlier in the conversation, we talked about health safety. Every unit of blood that is donated with the American Red Cross is run through rigorous testing at the local blood bank lab. The blood that is donated here in my area is sent to a lab in a town called Peoria, Illinois. It goes through rigorous testing before it is sent back out to local hospitals. So we make sure that the blood is safe to be distributed to patients who are in need. Someone can donate every 56 days, but here's the thing, Lori, blood is only good for 42 days. So there's that little bit of a gap where, you know, blood's good for 42 days. You can only donate every 56 days. So that's why we're still trying to encourage people to try and get to drives. Now, as far as the blood itself, blood is made up of three components: red blood cells, plasma, and platelets. The red blood cells are, we've talked about earlier in this conversation, trauma patients, the surgery patients, the organ transplant patients, people like that, you know, people who are in that need at hospitals. Platelets is another realm of the blood donation process, but platelets are also in blood, and those are separated out at the lab, and platelets are used for people who might be going through cancer treatments, chemotherapy, helping to rebuild the immune systems, because we know that when people go through chemotherapy, it really does a number on you because we're killing the bad cancer cells, but it's also killing other cells as well. And then the plasma, we've heard a lot about lately with the convalescent plasma. So that's why it's the three parts of blood that are made up and then separated. Let me tell you, if you ever donate at an American Red Cross blood drive, you will get text messages, or if you use the mobile app on your phone, you'll get notifications as to where your blood is at in its journey. Your blood is in storage. Your blood is being tested. Your blood, and it will tell you within 24 hours after your blood is used, where it was used. Now, obviously, we can't get into, you know, who it was used on or anything like that because of HIPAA, you know, the privacy rules, but it will tell you where your blood was sent. Now, in the past, back in the spring, one of my donations was sent to a hospital in New York City because they were so overwhelmed with COVID patients. Drives are actually being canceled. And so then, you know, where there's a greater need, then blood is shipped to that part of the country. They take care of the local hospitals that they partner with, that we partner with. And once those are taken care of, then if there's additional excess for donated blood, then it is distributed to other parts of the country. One other time, one of my donations got sent to a hospital in Charleston, South Carolina, because that's when the hurricanes had hit the Carolina coast and wiped out many drives there. So they really, it's kind of almost like a supply chain, you know, equation where there's a greater need and there's some excess in some parts of the country, then it's shipped to make sure that partner hospitals are taken care of.
You know, and I think we have a lot in common because I feel like both of our businesses are based in gratitude. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, I never know who's going to come to me and need a heart or need hope. You never know who's going to come to you so unselfishly and donate, you know, take an hour's worth of their day and give. I mean, you don't pay for blood donations. You don't get broadcast on the news when you donate blood. It's truly from the heart, and it's a giving thing. And so I you know, when we kind of talked about doing this, I kept thinking, you know, how grateful I was to receive the blood. Mm-hmm. Just how truly we live in gratitude every day in our jobs.
You know, sometimes people, you know, they'll write a check to their local charity, or they can make a donation, a financial contribution to an agency or an organization that is in need. But sometimes, Lori, people don't have the financial wherewithal to do that, especially now with many people who have lost their jobs because of the pandemic. But one thing that you can do, you can go to a local blood drive. You can take an hour out of your day and you can get up on that table and donate a pint of blood. And that 1 pint of blood can help 3 people who are in need. And so it's just a way to give back to the community. It's a way of saying, you know what, I'm glad that I was able to help someone who is not as fortunate as me or who is hospitalized, and I'm there. And so it's an easy way to give back, and it's just a way that, people really know that what they're doing is a good thing, and can be very grateful.
I guess I always think too, we don't know what walk someone else is going through right now.
Right.
A lot of the people that follow me or know me know that my dad's going through chemotherapy right now, and it's hard. It is hard on him, but to know there is something that can help alleviate some of that weakness and destroying those cells, and knowing that I was anemic and that blood truly saved my life, because I didn't jump up off that gurney and say I'm healed. It was a process, but had it not been there, I'd still been laying in bed. I wouldn't be able to get up. And I just think it's awesome that you're here talking to us today, because I feel like it's probably something that's been kind of put on the back burner because people are so focused on other things. And the way you sum that up, that just, it's not about money. If you can't write the check, you can save lives.
Right.
And I just encourage everybody to look further into this. And Jim, in closing, what do you want to tell us that you haven't already? It's been so much information, but what would you like to convey?
The American Red Cross has been collecting blood, Lori, since the 1940s, back in the days of World War II, when soldiers were on the battlefield. And since that time, you and I both know that there have been cures for disease. The medical community has done wonders. Right now, knee joint replacements, a thing of where you can get in and out in almost one day. Mm-hmm. And really, the medical science has done great things, but still to this day, they cannot find they can't synthetic blood. It's not a reality. And so when someone is in need, it's up to somebody else to go to a local blood drive, to take that hour out of their day and go to a drive to help make sure that there's enough blood on the shelves at the local blood banks, that when someone is in need, that there's blood there to help them continue their journey through life. So it's
well, and I think that was going to be one of my questions. How long have the Red Cross been around? And summing that up and thinking, since 1940, it's probably still the very basic process. I mean, they may have added some new testing or something, but it's still going in, taking blood,
right.
Processing blood. So it's proven, and it's amazing. And I just can't, thank you enough for coming today. And even reconnecting after all these years. I mean, it's been since high school, but that even...
You only look like you're 29 years old anyway, so it's okay.
Oh, you're so sweet. You've always been kind to me. So
I've got the gray going on here, so all right, so look out.
Well, you know what? If we're happy and we're healthy, that's all we need. And
you're exactly right.
In life, that's what God calls us to do. So Thank you so much. I'm going to put the links for the Red Cross. I'll put your information too if someone has a question and wants to reach out to you. And, thank you again for everything you do. It's inspiring. It really is. And I'm grateful to have this time with you.
Well, Lori, let me just close by saying that what you're doing and your ministry that you're performing there in the Allen area truly reaches out to people who are in need. God does put things on your heart, and that when you feel that God's talking with you and really putting you in a direction and putting you in a position to serve, you have done a remarkable job, and may continue to have blessings upon you, your family, and your ministry.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'm going to send you guys some gratitude hearts to have, because I'm just really grateful, and thank you for those very, very kind words. So we see you again. Thank you everyone for watching and learning, and please, please consider donating to the Red Cross, going in and just remember that number that Jim said, that 65 out of 100 probably can't give. So you might be the other ones that can. So thanks so much.